Hey bookworms, welcome back to my channel and to another book review, or just welcome generally if that's your first time here. So today I will be talking about Crazy by William Peter Blatty. Now I found this book as I was searching for another book by the same author, this little thing called The Exorcist. You might have heard about it. Yes, the same one the movie is based on, but I found Crazy instead, so I decided to read it. And this is a really short book written in 2010, which surprised me. I was certain Blatty was already long dead in 2010 for some reason. I mean, he was born in the 1920s and his most famous novel was written in the 70s, but when you think about it, Stephen King also wrote books in the 70s and he's alive and kicking, so I don't know. Anyway, back to the book. So the protagonist of Crazy is a smart-ass kid called Joey El Bueno, which by the way is a really cool name. And he meets a really unique girl called Jane with a freckled face and a sassy attitude that also seem to possess some magical abilities like levitating in the air and time jumping. And soon Joey and Jane become fast friends until one day Jane disappears and everyone other than Joey seemed to forget she ever existed. Now, before I get into my opinion on the book, I do want to remind you that I upload bookish video every other Friday, and if this is something you might be interested in, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so that you won't miss any new video I upload. And now, let's talk Crazy. This book is, as mentioned, really short. In fact, I was really surprised that it's considered a novel and not a novella. I didn't count the pages, but I suppose it just barely passes the limit of a novella. And so the book, so probably be my review, rather short. Ironically, the book was on one hand very interesting, but on the other very forgettable. Mostly it reminded me of Paul Auster's Travels in the Scriptorium, of which I said basically the same thing. This was a concept book with an interesting concept, but not much meat to it. And speaking of Auster, this really reminded me of his writing style, his kind of whimsical, almost fantasy, urban tale that's told almost as a fairy tale set in the real world. I'm pretty sure that if you like Paul Auster, then you'd like this book. But honestly, I wasn't really impressed by this. It's one of those cases where the author suggested an idea, what if, and the entire book is only dedicated to answering this question. Now, I won't say what the what if of the story is because it's about who Jane really is and what's going on and why nobody remembers her, etc. I will say, however, that I guessed pretty quickly what the whole thing is about, but this wasn't what ruined it for me. Look, writing a concept book is all well and good, but other than, oh, that's an interesting concept, I don't feel that this book has much to offer. In addition, the reading process was rather tiring. As I mentioned before, Joey is a smart-aleck kid, and this book is written through his perspective, and reading his voice was like listening to a chatty little kid who thinks he's really smart and have a ton of references that only he knows about, and he speaks with real long run-on sentences. For the most part, reading was a chore. So, to conclude, this book was a rather interesting, fast read, but in a year I will probably forget about its existence. Now, how could a book be both interesting and forgettable? I don't know, but surely you've read or seen things that made you think, that's interesting, but they didn't resonate with you enough to enter your long-term memory. The book does have a certain nostalgic feel to it, but unfortunately, it is nostalgic to a completely different generation to the one I grew up with, and the things he's referring to are very mid-20th century specific. To my 90s kid who grew up with color TVs and Game Boys, it didn't feel nostalgic. It felt like someone telling a story about a different time. You know what I mean? It didn't evoke feelings of missing a simpler, more innocent times, but rather told me that back then in cinemas you had short movies before the actual movie in the cinema. Anyway, it was fine. I didn't feel like I was wasting my time, but it's only because it took me about a day and a half to read it, despite the blabbery writing. I don't highly recommend it, but if the ideas sound interesting to you, give it a chance. This book is super short, so you won't risking anything. And guys, that was my review on Crazy, the book that drove me nuts. I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you did, don't forget to like it and share it to the world. Also, have you read anything else by Blatty? What do you think about them? Let me know in the comment section. And also, while you're there, write down what childhood experience, like going to the cinema, for example, changed throughout the years. For example, when I was a kid, there was always a break in the middle of the movie, and it was a great time to go to the bathroom or get some more popcorn. What about you? Tell me what generation you are without telling what generation you are. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on my next video when I will be talking about a much more serious book that does involve children in a way, but in a quite opposite way. But no spoilers. So guys, until then, bye bye.